Lance Stroll needs to improve for 2023. Fernando Alonso will make sure of that. Now, what gave me the idea for this video is that Fernando Alonso is a different type of teammate. I feel like he brings the best out of people, and he's going to bring the best out of Lance Stroll. Now, do I think Lance Stroll is a bad driver? Absolutely not. I actually think that he is underrated in a lot of qualities and can be a way better driver than he has really shown to the F1 community. I think he's a driver that throughout his career has probably gotten criticized for having money, having his daddy, and kind of push him out into the F1 world and really get him into that seat like he did for Williams, and then kind of putting him into the forcing the team that came to Racing Point that now is Aston Martin. Lawrence Stroll is the owner of Aston Martin, so that's why Lance is there and practically has a permanent seat unless he becomes some bum. But I don't think that he's a bum, and I think that he's actually well-deserved to be in F1. He's better than, I wouldn't say half the grid, but I would say that he is close to that halfway point. And on his good days, he can arguably up there be with a lot of really good people. I can probably say that Lance Stroll on a good day is probably around like a Pierre Gasly level. I think that's an accurate statement to say. Probably around that Ocon, Pierre Gasly level. That's where I see Lance Stroll kind of sitting at when he's on his good days. On his bad days, he can pull a Latifi. But I'm talking more about that he needs to improve his consistency in general. Something I even saw in a Lance video not too long ago was him talking about, actually it was on Drive to Survive. He was talking about how one of the things that he wants to mostly improve on, which this is about 2 or 3 years ago, was consistency. He talked about that being one of his biggest downfalls in F1. I agree. I think he is an inconsistent driver, but an extremely good driver. What is the one thing that he doesn't have? It's definitely qualifying. Qualifying is something that I think has been struggling for Lance throughout the whole entire season, this year, last year, and really since he's been in F1. He's an incredible race driver, and during the race as well. I mean, you just have to look at his starts. He starts always, I feel like P15 to P20 is a Lance Stroll position for him to qualify, but then somehow ends up ending the race in a P8, P9, P10, which is 7 to 8 positions made up. That's an incredible number to be made up, and sometimes even more than 10 positions are made up. He's had starts like Japan, Singapore, Mexico. If you've watched the new overtake video on the F1 channel, you'll know that he took up 3 or 4 positions of those just from his starts alone, and probably could have taken up more if it wasn't for other overtakes during those races. He's incredible, but I think Fernando will bring out that new type of driver in Lance Stroll and make him more consistent. The things I think Seb lacked while those two were together. Seb had strengths against Lance, but he also had weaknesses against Lance. Now, in my opinion, I felt like Seb, while he was in Aston Martin, was extremely passive and a little too fair of a driver. He let Lance pass him on a couple of occasions when probably could have fought for a harder battle. He is the better qualifier out of the two, but got Lance pretty close, which was probably to do with Lance actually improving, but also Seb losing that motivation that he didn't have anymore since his Ferrari days. So Seb taught him how to be a better race car driver. I think so. I think Seb was a great teammate to have, but Fernando will be that extra step that Lance needs. Why do I think that? Because of what I was just trying to say. Seb is a little too passive to me. He's not the type of guy that's going to come up to you and be like, listen, this is where you got to improve. This is what we need to work on. This is what needs to get done. Fernando, on the other hand, will tell you, just like he's done with McLaren, just like he's done with Alpine, just done like with Ferrari as well. Any team that he has been a part of, he has improved that team and helped them work together to actually get them to where they're at. Fernando Alonso, in my opinion, is a top 3 driver on the grid, still to this day. If we're talking prime Fernando Alonso, he'd be sticking it with Verstappen and Hamilton easily. I think he's up there with Charles Leclerc. Those are the two that I have between top 3, 4, whatever it may be between those two. They are up there. And Lando is also fighting with those guys. But the point I'm trying to make is that Fernando Alonso is going to bring it to Lance, and Lance needs to be better for that 2023 season and bring up that consistency. Now, if he can perform like he did in the second half of the season, like with Vettel, I think that he can actually be in a real good partnership with Fernando Alonso where incidents don't happen. Both cars can be through the Q3, both cars can be fighting for points consistently. They can take that P4 position. They can start moving their way up slowly to actually fight for the title, because it takes two to get there. It's not gonna just be Fernando Alonso that can really take that team above. Lance needs to be part of this movement that Aston Martin is really trying to pursue in F1. I think Alonso will bring out, so as we know, Lance is a very aggressive driver. He likes to put himself in the deep dives. He likes to defend very hard. Fernando does that perfectly, but I think Fernando does that smart and calculated, while Lance, on the other hand, struggles to find that intelligence while driving. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but I mean, if we look at his incident in Coda, that's an incident that I don't think happens to any other driver on the grid, with the exception of maybe some rookies or beginner drivers. It's a rookie mistake to make that move so late on Fernando when you already see him pulling out of your slipstream to go for the overtake. You were losing that battle regardless of what could have happened. Maybe he could have waited for Fernando to go side to side, maybe go around the outside, but instead he took that harsh defensive move and ended up costing himself the race where he was performing extremely well. Something Fernando has never really done, though. Fernando is perfectly calculated. He always knows the car distance between him and his opponent. So these are attributes that I think Lance needs to work on. Qualifying, I think that's getting better and better. On a day-to-day basis, it seems like Lance is improving. He's qualifying a lot better. He's actually able to put himself into a couple Q3 positions in an Aston Martin that probably didn't belong there. So it was impressive to see. Lance was bringing his A game in 2022. But now that 2023 is coming along, I think that type of consistency that he had in that second half of the season needs to be put out throughout the whole entire season, because this Aston Martin team needs to look to shoot above fourth place or fourth for this season. I think that they need to be competing with Alpine and McLaren, and they need to bring that fight to those teams. And if they can bring the fight to the top three teams, that would be amazing. But I just don't think that's a realistic expectation right now. You guys tell me your thoughts. Do you think Fernando and Lance Stroll will work together? Do you think this type of dynamic will actually bring together better fortune for Aston Martin? Or will there still be a scuffle between the teammates? Will Fernando not find himself here? What do you guys think? I think this is a big opportunity for Lance to improve and to really show how good of a driver he is and what he can do. That's the video, guys. Hope you guys liked it. Please leave a like, subscribe. That would mean the world, and peace.